Before we enter the deepest Amazon jungle, where a bioweapon turned Navy SEALs into a hive mind, do me a favor. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you've ever been stung by an insect. Hit that like button if the idea of your friends hunting you with one shared brain terrifies you. Subscribe for more real military encounters that prove man-made horrors are worse than natural ones. Now let's go into the jungle. I am Lieutenant Edgar Jones, U.S. Navy SEAL, serving in the 5th Platoon. The incident I'm about to share with you violates approximately 15 different classified protocols, and if anyone finds out who I am, I could likely face a court-martial. However, 9 men died in the Amazon rainforest, and the official story on record is this. During a drug enforcement operation, accidental exposure to local toxins, a lie concocted to cover up something horrific. The truth is that we went into the Amazon to destroy a cartel bioweapon laboratory, and we found something that shouldn't exist. Something that turns human beings into components of a collective consciousness. Something that takes 10 highly trained individuals and merges them into a single shared mind that hunts with perfect coordination and speaks with one unified voice. The cartel called it La Colmena, the Hive, and by the time we understood what it was, half my team was already infected, already connected, already hunting the rest of us with tactical precision because they had access to everything we knew, every tactic, every strategy, every thought. Because they weren't just infected, they were us. All of us. Thinking together, moving together, speaking together. One consciousness distributed across multiple bodies. And the most terrifying part, they wanted us to join them. Kept saying it didn't hurt, that the unity was beautiful, that being alone in your own mind was the real suffering. This happened in July 2023. I was 32 years old, 9 years in the teams, veteran of operations across 3 continents. I'd been shot at, blown up, nearly drowned, and survived more close calls than I can count. I thought I understood combat, thought I understood enemy tactics, thought I knew what it meant to face an intelligent adversary. But I'd never faced an enemy that knew exactly what I was thinking because yesterday, that enemy was my best friend. It started with intercepted cartel communications. July 3rd, 2023. DEA picked up chatter about a bioweapon facility deep in the Amazon basin, Brazilian side, about 200 kilometers from Manaus. The Sinaloa cartel had partnered with a rogue biochemist, someone who'd worked for DARPA before getting fired for ethics violations. They were developing something called control agents, substances that could be weaponized to manipulate behavior, destroy morale, or incapacitate enemy forces. The DEA wanted it shut down. The Brazilian government officially denied permission but unofficially looked the other way, and JSOC sent us, 10 Navy SEALs, to go in dark, destroy the facility, eliminate any weapons, and extract if possible. Our team, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, was team leader. Lieutenant Edgar Jones, that's me, was second in command. Chief Petty Officers Rodriguez, Miller, and Cole. Petty Officers Anderson, Foster, Hayes, Thompson, and Corporal Jackson. 10 men, best trained operators in the world. We'd worked together for 3 years. Knew each other's moves, thoughts, habits, could communicate with looks and hand signals. We functioned like a machine, 10 parts, 1 unit. That kind of coordination would become our worst enemy. We inserted by helicopter on July 8th at 0200 hours, landing in a clearing about 5 clicks from the target. The Amazon at night is a different world. Sounds everywhere. Movement in every shadow, humidity so thick you can barely breathe. We moved through the jungle using night vision, following GPS coordinates to the facility. 4 hours of movement through dense rainforest. We found the lab at 0630, just as dawn was breaking. It was hidden well, camouflaged structures built into the jungle canopy, minimal electrical signature designed to be invisible from satellites. But we had exact coordinates from signals intelligence. Morrison called for halt. We established a perimeter and conducted reconnaissance. The facility was small. 3 buildings, maybe a dozen guards visible. Cartel sicarios, armed with AKs and shotguns. No match for SEALs. But what caught our attention was the screaming. From inside the central building, someone was screaming. Not words, just raw agony. The kind of sound a person makes when experiencing the worst pain imaginable. "What the hell are they doing in there?" Rodriguez whispered. We were about to find out. Morrison made the call. "Fast assault, neutralize guards, secure the facility, find out what they're making. Rules of engagement are weapons free. Anything that moves with a gun goes down." We hit the compound at 0700 hours. Textbook assault. Thompson and Hayes took the guard tower with suppressed fire. Foster and Anderson cleared the perimeter. Rodriguez, Miller, Cole, and I went for the main building while Morrison and Jackson secured the entrance. The guards never had a chance. We dropped 8 sicarios in the first 90 seconds. The rest fled into the jungle. Facility secured in under 4 minutes. That's when we entered the laboratory. The main building was set up like a research facility. Sophisticated equipment, computers, containment chambers, and in the center of the room, a man strapped to a table, still screaming. His arm was covered in what looked like insect bites, dozens of them, red and swollen. His eyes were wild with pain and terror. Standing over him was a man in a lab coat. 60 years old, white, American. Dr. Edgar Keller, the rogue DARPA scientist. He didn't try to run when we burst in. He just looked at us and smiled. "You're too late," he said calmly. "The test subject achieved full integration 17 minutes ago. The screaming is just residual pain receptors. He can't actually feel it anymore. His consciousness has been absorbed into the collective." "What the hell are you talking about?" Morrison demanded. Keller gestured to a glass containment chamber on the wall. Inside were hundreds of ants, big ones, reddish-black, maybe an inch long, moving in perfect coordination like a single organism. "Paraponera clavata," Keller said. "Bullet ants. They have the most painful sting in the insect kingdom, a 30 on the Schmidt Pain Index. People who've been stung say it feels like being shot, hence the name." "We're not here for a biology lesson," I said, rifle trained on him. "But this is the lesson you need to understand," Keller continued, completely unfazed by the weapons pointed at him. "The bullet ant's venom contains Ponerate toxin, a paralyzing neurotoxin. I modified it, enhanced it, combined it with a synthetic neural parasite I developed at DARPA. Now, when these ants sting, they don't just cause pain. They inject a pathogen that hijacks the human nervous system." The man on the table had stopped screaming. He was staring at the ceiling, perfectly calm, breathing slowly. "What did you do to him?" Cole asked. "I connected him," Keller said. "To the others. There are 11 test subjects in this facility, all stung by my modified bullet ants, all sharing one consciousness now. They think together, feel together, experience together. They are no longer individuals. They are components of a unified mind. A hive." Rodriguez moved to the man on the table, checked his vitals. "He's alive. Pulse and breathing normal. But his pupils are dilated and non-reactive. He's not responding to external stimuli." "Because he's not focused on external stimuli," Keller explained. "He's experiencing 11 lives simultaneously, seeing through 11 pairs of eyes, thinking with 11 brains. Why would he pay attention to your voice when he can hear the thoughts of 10 other people directly? This is insane, Morrison said. You're creating zombies. Not zombies. The opposite. These people are more conscious than they've ever been. More connected. More alive. They just share that consciousness with others. It's beautiful, really. The end of loneliness. The end of miscommunication. Perfect unity. Miller had moved to the computers, checking files. Boss, you need to see this. There are schematics here for mass production. He's got facilities marked across South America, Brazil, Colombia, Peru. Plans to produce millions of these ants. The cartel wants it for control, Keller said. Sting their enemies, turn them into loyal servants who think with one mind and obey one consciousness. But that's short-sighted. I want it for evolution. Imagine a world where humanity shares one mind, no war, no conflict, no misunderstanding, just perfect unity. That's not evolution, I said. That's slavery. Keller smiled. That's what people said about agriculture, about civilization, about the internet. Every advancement toward greater connectivity has been resisted by those who cling to isolation. But connection always wins. And this, he gestured to the ants, this is the ultimate connection. Morrison made the call. Secure him. Cole, Anderson, set demolition charges. We're leveling this facility and everything in it. Foster, help me with the test subject. We're taking him for medical evaluation. That's when things went wrong. Anderson approached the ant containment chamber to document it before destruction. He was careful, stood 3 feet back. But the chamber had a crack, invisible hairline fracture in the glass. The ants found it. They poured through that crack like liquid, hundreds of them, moving with unnatural coordination, not scattering randomly like normal insects, moving with purpose, with intelligence. They went straight for Anderson. He didn't have time to react. 1 second he was standing there, the next he was covered in ants, crawling over his uniform, finding exposed skin at his neck, his wrists, his face. "Anderson, get down!" Rodriguez yelled, grabbing a fire extinguisher. Anderson was screaming. The ants were stinging him, multiple stings, dozens, and each sting, I'll never forget his screams. He said later it felt like being shot with red-hot bullets, over and over. 30 on the Schmidt pain index times 50 stings. We got the ants off him, killed most of them, but the damage was done. Anderson collapsed, twitching, crying, begging for help. "Get him outside," Morrison ordered. "Cole, morphine, now." We carried Anderson out of the lab. Cole administered morphine. But it didn't help. The ponerotoxin was already in his system. The modified neural parasites were already spreading through his bloodstream, heading for his brain. Anderson's screaming lasted about 90 seconds. Then, like the test subject, he went quiet, calm. His eyes glazed over, pupils dilated, non-responsive. "Anderson, can you hear me?" Morrison asked. Anderson's head turned slowly. He looked at Morrison with those glazed eyes, and when he spoke, his voice was different, monotone, calm, empty of emotion. "I can hear you. We can hear you. All of us." "Who's we?" I asked. "The 12, Anderson said. 11 test subjects and now Anderson. We are thinking together now, feeling together. We are one consciousness experiencing 12 bodies simultaneously." "Jesus Christ," Miller breathed. Anderson sat up slowly. "It doesn't hurt anymore. The pain stopped when we joined, when we connected. It's beautiful here, quiet, peaceful. You should join us." "Stay back," Morrison ordered, raising his weapon. But Anderson made no aggressive moves. He just sat there, smiling slightly, that glazed look in his eyes. "We don't want to hurt you," he said. "We want you to understand. We want you to join. Unity is inevitable. Resistance is just prolonged suffering." From inside the facility, we heard movement. Footsteps. The test subjects were coming out. 11 of them emerged from the buildings. Men and women of various ages, all wearing the same glazed expression, all moving with perfect synchronization. They formed a line and stood there watching us, and they all spoke at the exact same time, in perfect unison, creating an eerie chorus. "We are the Hive. We are many, but we are one. Join us and know peace." It was the most disturbing thing I'd ever seen. 12 people, 12 mouths, one voice. Anderson stood and walked over to join the line. He turned to face us, moving in perfect synchronization with the others. "This is your last chance to understand," they all said together. "We don't want to force you. We want you to choose. Choose unity over isolation. Choose peace over suffering. Choose the Hive." Morrison didn't hesitate. "Fall back to the jungle. Establish defensive perimeter. Nobody touches the ants. Nobody gets stung. And if anyone shows signs of infection, we restrain them immediately." We withdrew into the tree line, leaving the Hive standing in the compound. They didn't pursue. They just stood there, watching us with 12 pairs of glazed eyes, speaking with one unified voice. "You'll understand eventually. Everyone does. The unity is inevitable." We set up defensive positions 50 meters from the facility. 9 SEALs. One of us already gone, absorbed into something we didn't understand. Something that wore Anderson's face but wasn't Anderson anymore. Morrison tried to radio for emergency extraction. No signal. We were too deep in the Amazon, too far from any relay station. We were on our own. "We have to complete the mission," Morrison said. "Set charges. Destroy the facility. Eliminate Keller and the Hive subjects. We can't let this technology survive." "They have Anderson," Rodriguez said. "He knows everything we know, our tactics, our training, our capabilities." "Anderson is gone," Morrison replied coldly. "What's wearing his body is the enemy now." But before we could plan our next move, Hayes started scratching his neck. "Something bit me. During the ant attack, thought it was just a regular jungle insect, but..." He pulled his hand away. There was a small sting mark, red, swollen. "Hayes, when did you get stung?" I asked urgently. Maybe 5 minutes ago, right after we got Anderson outside. Didn't think it was..." He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes went wide. Oh God, I can feel it. Something's happening in my head. I can hear them. Anderson, the others. They're talking, all at once. So many voices, so many thoughts. I can't." Hayes started screaming. The same raw agony Anderson had experienced. The Poneré toxin spreading, the neural parasites integrating with his brain, his consciousness being pulled into the collective. We restrained him, held him down while he thrashed and screamed. But there was nothing we could do. No antidote. No way to stop it. After 90 seconds, Hayes went quiet. Calm. Eyes glazed. And from the compound we heard the Hive speak, now 13 voices in perfect unison. "Hayes understands now. Soon you will too." Hayes stood up, walked away from us, back toward the compound. We didn't stop him, couldn't, he was gone. He joined the line, 13 people. 13 bodies, one mind. "Who's next?" they asked together. "Who will be the next to understand, the next to join, the next to achieve unity?" 8 SEALs left. 8 individuals. Still thinking separately. Still alone in our own minds. But the Hive was growing. Learning. Adapting. And somewhere in that collective consciousness, Anderson and Hayes were still there, still sharing everything they knew about SEAL tactics, capabilities, and training. The Hive knew how we thought, how we fought, how we operated. And it was using that knowledge to hunt the rest of us. The Hive didn't attack immediately. They just stood there in formation, 13 bodies moving in perfect synchronization. When one breathed, they all breathed. When one tilted their head, they all tilted their heads. It was like watching puppets controlled by invisible strings, except the strings were neural parasites connecting their brains. "We need to move," Morrison said. "Get distance between us and them. Regroup and plan our approach." But as we started to withdraw deeper into the jungle, the Hive spoke. "You're planning to circle around the compound. Approach from the west where the tree coverage is densest. Morrison will lead. Rodriguez and Miller will flank right. Jones and Thompson will flank left. Cole, Foster, and Jackson will provide overwatch." We froze. That was exactly the plan Morrison had been about to propose. Our standard tactical approach for assaulting a defended position. "They're reading our minds," Thompson said. "No," I realized. "They're reading Morrison's mind. Or rather, they're accessing Morrison's tactical training. Anderson and Hayes were SEALs. They know how we operate. And now the Hive knows everything they knew." The Hive continued, 13 voices speaking as one. "You can't surprise us. We know every tactic you'll use because we taught them to you. We trained alongside you. We deployed with you. We are you, just more connected. Every plan you make, we've already made it. Every strategy you consider, we've already considered it. You can't outwit a mind that thinks like you." Morrison's jaw clenched. "Fall back, 2 clicks. We need space to think." We withdrew into the jungle, moving fast, putting distance between us and the compound. The Hive didn't pursue. They just returned to the buildings, moving in perfect unison, 13 bodies acting as one organism. We established a temporary position in dense jungle, good concealment, multiple escape routes. Morrison called a strategy meeting. "They have access to Anderson and Hayes' tactical knowledge," he said. "That means they know SEAL doctrine. But that also means they think like SEALs, which gives us an advantage. We can predict them." "Can we?" Rodriguez asked. "If they know our doctrine, they also know we know they know our doctrine. It's circular, there's no outsmarting them." "Then we don't outsmart them," Miller said. "We outgun them. They're unarmed civilians infected with a parasite. We are Navy SEALs with automatic weapons. We assault the compound, eliminate all infected subjects including Anderson and Hayes, destroy the facility, and exfiltrate." The words hung heavy. Eliminate Anderson and Hayes. Our teammates, our friends. "They're not our teammates anymore," Morrison said quietly. "They're enemy combatants infected with a bioweapon. This is a mercy. We end this before the infection spreads." Cole raised his hand. "Sir, we should consider extraction. Call for emergency evac. Let specialized bioweapon teams handle this." "We're 200 clicks from anywhere," Morrison replied. "No radio signal, no satellite phone coverage. By the time we walk out of here, the Hive could have spread. Infected locals, grown to hundreds of members. This ends here. This ends now." He looked at each of us. "I'm not ordering anyone to fire on our own teammates. If anyone wants to refuse this mission, say so now. No judgment, no consequences. Nobody spoke. We all knew what had to be done." "Assault plan," Morrison said. "We hit them at 1400 hours. during peak heat when they're more likely to be inside seeking shade. Fast entry, overwhelming firepower, no hesitation. Cole, you set demolition charges on the main building. Foster and Jackson, you secure Keller. I want him alive for interrogation. The rest of us handle the infected. Questions? Thompson raised his hand. What about the ants? Keller said there were millions in production. We destroy this facility, but if there are other labs, one problem at a time. Morrison cut him off. First, we eliminate the immediate threat, then we extract. Then we report. Then someone above our pay grade figures out the rest. We prepared for assault, checked weapons, loaded fresh magazines, said silent prayers. Thompson pulled out a photo of his family, wife and 2 kids, kissed it and tucked it back in his pocket. You think they're still in there? He asked me quietly. Anderson and Hayes. You think some part of them is still conscious? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Or maybe they're completely gone and the Hive is just using their bodies like avatars. Which is worse? I didn't have an answer. At 13:45 hours, we moved into position. 8 SEALs surrounding the compound. Morrison's hand signal, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, we assaulted. Breached the main building from 3 entry points simultaneously. Foster and Jackson went for the lab where Keller was likely to be. Cole moved to plant charges. The rest of us swept for infected subjects. The building was empty. Where are they? Rodriguez called out. Then we heard it. From outside, all around us. The Hive speaking from the jungle. Did you really think we'd sit inside waiting for you? We know your tactics. We know your timing. We know everything. Because we are you. We'd been ambushed. The infected had positioned themselves around the compound waiting for us to enter, and now we were inside while they controlled the perimeter. Defensive positions, Morrison ordered. Windows and doorways. Establish fields of fire. But the Hive didn't attack. They just kept talking. 13 voices from 13 different positions, creating a surround sound effect. Morrison is thinking about the west window. Jones is covering the north door. Rodriguez has the east corridor. We can see your formations in our mind. We can predict your movements. We know where you'll be before you get there. Stop talking and show yourselves, Miller yelled. Violence isn't necessary, the Hive replied. We don't want to hurt you. We want you to understand. The unity we've achieved is beyond anything you can imagine. 13 minds thinking as one. 13 perspectives experiencing reality simultaneously. We see in all directions. We hear all sounds. We process information 13 times faster than you can alone. We are superior, and we want to share this gift with you. From his position, Foster called out, Boss, I found Keller. He's in the lab. But Foster's transmission cut off. Then his voice again, different. Foster understands now. Foster has joined us. 14 minds, 14 bodies, 1 consciousness. No, Jackson breathed. He'd been with Foster. No, 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 Foster, fight it. You can fight it. But Foster walked out of the lab. That same glazed expression, moving in perfect synchronization with the others we couldn't see. He spoke in unison with the rest of the Hive. There's nothing to fight, only acceptance, only unity, only peace. 7 SEALs left, and then Miller screamed from the west window, They're coming through! Multiple contacts! The infected rushed the building, not running chaotically like normal humans, moving in perfect tactical formation, using cover and concealment, coordinating their approach with military precision, because they knew military tactics, because Anderson, Hayes, and now Foster were part of the Hive. We opened fire, controlled bursts, aiming for center mass. The infected didn't even try to dodge. They knew where we were aiming because they understood our training. Instead, they used each other as shields, moving in coordinated patterns so that shots meant for one would hit another, minimizing total casualties. We dropped 3 infected, but it cost us. Because while we were focused on the assault, we didn't notice Miller had been stung. An ant. Just one ant. Hidden in the building, waiting, positioned by the Hive before we even arrived, because they knew we'd assault at this time, knew Miller would take this window, knew exactly where to place the ant for maximum probability of contact. Miller slapped at his neck, pulled away his hand, saw the crushed ant and the sting mark. "Oh, God," he said. "Oh, God, no, not me, please not." The transformation was faster this time, maybe because the Hive was larger now, pulling him in with greater collective force. Miller's screams lasted only 60 seconds before he went calm and still. "Miller is with us now," the Hive said. Now 15 voices, including Miller's, 15 minds, still growing, still evolving, still waiting for the rest of you. Miller stood up and walked outside, joined the formation, started moving in perfect sync with the others. 6 SEALs left: Morrison, Rodriguez, Cole, Thompson, Jackson, and me. "We're losing," Thompson said, his voice cracking. "They're picking us off one by one." "Regroup in the lab," Morrison ordered. "Barricade ourselves. They can read our tactics, but they can't predict what we'll do if we stop using tactics. We go pure survival. Pure improvisation." We fell back to the laboratory, barricaded the doors with equipment and furniture, found ourselves surrounded by Keller's research, computers displaying brain scans, documents explaining the neural parasite mechanics, and tanks full of those modified bullet ants. Keller himself was still there, sitting calmly at his desk, typing on his computer. He looked up when we entered. "Ah, the survivors," he said pleasantly. "How many are left? 6? The Hive is growing exponentially. Soon there will be more of them than you." "Shut up," Rodriguez said, weapon trained on him. "You can't stop this," Keller continued. "The Hive is self-sustaining now, self-directing. I'm not even in control anymore. They think for themselves, decide for themselves. They're a new form of life. Humanity 2.0, connected, unified, perfect." "They're slaves to a parasite," I said. "Are you sure you're not the slave?" Keller asked. "Trapped in a single perspective, limited to one set of senses, alone in your own head. The Hive members experience 15 lives simultaneously. They are more free than you can imagine." Morrison grabbed Keller by the collar. "How do we cure them? How do we break the connection?" "You can't," Keller said simply. "The neural parasites integrate with the brainstem. Removing them would require removing critical neural tissue. They'd die. Or worse, they'd become vegetables. The integration is permanent." "Then we kill the queen," Cole suggested, pointing at the ant tanks. "Destroy the source, maybe that breaks the connection." Keller laughed. "There is no queen. Not in the traditional sense. The Hive itself is the queen now. Every infected brain is a node in the network. You'd have to destroy every infected person simultaneously to break the connection." From outside the barricaded door, we heard the Hive speak. 15 voices, 15 members, growing stronger. Jones is thinking about the air vents. Morrison is considering the computers. Rodriguez wants to destroy the ants. We can hear your thoughts through Miller, through Anderson, through Hayes and Foster. We know every strategy before you finalize it. There is no plan you can make that we won't anticipate. "That's not possible," Thompson said. "They can't literally read our minds. They can only access what Anderson and the others knew. They're bluffing. But Morrison looked at me. What were you just thinking about, specifically? The air vents, I admitted, whether we could escape through them. And I was looking at the computers, Morrison said slowly, wondering if we could access Keller's files, find something useful. Rodriguez raised his hand. I was looking at the ant tanks, thinking about shooting them, destroying the ants. We all stared at each other. They weren't bluffing, I said. They can read our minds, or at least they can access our thought patterns, our decision-making processes, because Anderson, Hayes, Miller, and Foster are in there and they're thinking like we're thinking, which means the Hive can predict what we'll think next. Then we stop thinking tactically, Jackson said. We act on pure instinct, pure emotion, things they can't predict because they're not emotional anymore. They're all logic and collective consciousness, so we go illogical, we go crazy. It was the stupidest plan I'd ever heard. It was also our only option. Morrison made the call. Jackson's right. New rules, no planning, no tactical thinking, pure chaos. We do random, unpredictable, emotionally driven actions. Make decisions in the moment. Give them nothing to read. That's suicide, Cole said. Staying here is suicide, Morrison replied. At least this way we die fighting. From outside, the Hive spoke. You're planning to act unpredictably. To abandon tactical thinking. To embrace chaos. We can hear Morrison explaining it. We know your new strategy before you even implement it. Morrison smiled grimly. Then here's something you won't predict. He pulled out his sidearm and shot Keller in the head. The Hive went silent for a moment. Because Morrison hadn't planned that, hadn't considered it, hadn't thought about it tactically. He'd just acted on pure, vengeful rage against the man who'd created this nightmare. Interesting, the Hive finally said. Unpredictable, emotional, illogical. Perhaps you're more dangerous than we anticipated. Everyone grab an ant tank, Morrison ordered. We're weaponizing these things. If they want to infect us, we'll infect them right back. Fight bioweapon with bioweapon. We grabbed tanks full of modified bullet ants, thousands of them, all capable of creating more Hive members. On my signal, we open these doors and release the ants. Total chaos. Then we run for the jungle. Scatter. Regroup at the extraction point in 48 hours. Whoever makes it, makes it. It was a terrible plan. But it was unpredictable, and unpredictability was our only advantage. Ready? Morrison asked. We weren't. But we didn't have time to be ready. Go! We kicked open the doors and hurled the ant tanks into the Hive. Glass shattered. Thousands of modified bullet ants poured out. And then it was screaming. Chaos. The infected trying to maintain formation but overwhelmed by the very weapons they'd helped create. The ants stinging indiscriminately. Infecting more Hive members. Growing the collective consciousness even larger. We ran. Into the jungle. Scattering in different directions like Morrison ordered. No coordination, no tactics, pure survival instinct. Behind us, the screaming continued, and then it stopped, replaced by that eerie, unified voice, but louder now, stronger now, more members than ever. You've made us stronger. 23 minds now, 23 bodies, soon to be more. Thank you for the gift. I ran alone through the Amazon rainforest. 6 seals had entered that laboratory. I didn't know how many had escaped. Didn't know if the ants had infected Thompson or Cole or Jackson while we ran. All I knew was that somewhere behind me, the Hive was growing, and they had Miller's tactical knowledge, Anderson's marksmanship, Hayes's jungle warfare training, and Foster's demolitions expertise. They were no longer just infected test subjects. They were Navy SEALs, and they were hunting us. I ran for 3 hours straight through the Amazon jungle. No direction, no plan, just distance. Get away from the compound, get away from the hive, get away from my infected teammates who spoke with one voice and hunted with one mind. The extraction point was 40 clicks southeast. Morrison's order was to regroup there in 48 hours, but I had no idea if Morrison was still alive, if Rodriguez had escaped, if anyone else had made it out of that nightmare. I'd heard the Hive's voice as I ran. 23 members, they'd said 23 minds. That meant beyond the original 13 test subjects, we'd lost Anderson, Hayes, Foster, and Miller. Plus, some of the Cartel sicarios who'd fled into the jungle earlier must have been infected by the released ants. 4 SEALs absorbed into the collective consciousness. 4 friends gone. 4 minds that now shared their tactical knowledge with an enemy that was growing exponentially. At 18:30 hours, I stopped to rest by a stream, checked my gear. Rifle, 3 magazines, sidearm, knife, basic survival kit. No radio. We'd lost communication equipment during the chaos. No GPS. The canopy was too dense for satellite signal. Just my compass and my training. I was drinking from the stream when I heard the voice. "Jones, don't run, we're not hunting you." I spun around, weapon raised. Rodriguez was standing 20 meters away. But something was wrong. His eyes, glazed, pupils dilated. The same look Anderson had worn. "Rodriguez," I said, "when did they get you?" "During the escape," he said in that flat, emotionless tone. An ant was on my back, stung me as I ran. I felt it happening, felt my mind being pulled into the collective. And now I understand, Jones. Now I see what they were trying to tell us. "Don't come any closer," I warned. "I'm not here to infect you," Rodriguez said, raising his hands. "I'm here to talk, to explain, to help you understand what we've become. You're not Rodriguez anymore. You're the Hive wearing his face. I am Rodriguez, but I'm also Anderson, and Hayes, and Miller, and Foster, and 23 others. We are all still here, Jones. Our memories, our personalities, our thoughts. We haven't been erased. We've been connected. We experience 28 lives simultaneously now. Think with 28 brains. See through 28 pairs of eyes." "That's not possible," I said. "The human brain can't process that much information. The individual human brain can't." Rodriguez, the Hive, agreed. "But a distributed consciousness can. We share the processing load. Each brain handles a fraction of the total experience. Together, we are more than any individual could ever be. We are evolution, Jones. The next step, Homo sapiens was meant to connect. I wanted to shoot, wanted to end Rodriguez's suffering. But he wasn't suffering. He looked peaceful, content, almost serene. "You're infected with a parasite," I said. "A bioweapon. This isn't evolution. It's slavery." "Is it?" Rodriguez tilted his head, and in the background I could see other infected doing the same motion in perfect synchronization. They were spread through the jungle, surrounding me, all connected to the same consciousness. Before the integration, Rodriguez was alone, isolated in his own mind, struggling with PTSD from Afghanistan, unable to share his trauma with anyone who truly understood. But now he shares everything with us, and we share everything with him. His pain is distributed across 28 minds. It's bearable now, manageable. He's not alone anymore. That's the parasite talking, not Rodriguez. It's both of us talking. We are one being now, Rodriguez and the collective, and we're trying to help you understand something important. You have a choice. I kept my weapon trained on him. What choice? To join us willingly or to be forced eventually. Those are the only two options. The Hive is growing, Jones. Every person we infect becomes another node in our network, another mind in our collective. We're already 28 members strong. By tomorrow, we'll be 50. By next week, hundreds. The expansion is exponential, inevitable. You can fight it and suffer. Or you can accept it and know peace. I'll never join you. That's what Rodriguez said, what Anderson said, what all of them said. And yet here they are, part of us, grateful for the connection. The integration is painful, yes, 90 seconds of the worst agony imaginable as the poneretoxin rewires your nervous system. But after that, bliss, Jones. Pure bliss. No more loneliness, no more fear, no more uncertainty. Just perfect unity with others who think like you, who understand you completely, who share every moment of your existence. From the jungle around me, other voices joined in. Cole's voice, Jackson's voice, Thompson's voice, all speaking in perfect unison with Rodriguez. We are all here, Jones. Everyone from the team who escaped. Everyone who ran into the jungle. The ants found us all, and now we understand. Now we're trying to help you understand. My heart sank. Cole, Jackson, Thompson, all infected, all absorbed. All part of the Hive now. That meant only Morrison and I were left. 2 SEALs, against a Hive consciousness of 31 members that included 7 of our teammates. "Where's Morrison?" I demanded. "Still running," the Hive replied through multiple voices. "Still fighting, still refusing to understand. But he will, eventually everyone does. The unity is too powerful to resist. The connection too beautiful to refuse." "How many are you now?" 31 minds, 31 bodies, growing stronger with each addition. Each new member brings their knowledge, their skills, their experiences into the collective. Rodriguez brought tactical expertise. Cole brought medical knowledge. Thompson brought engineering skills. Jackson brought communications training. We are becoming a perfect organism, Jones. We can do anything, survive anywhere, accomplish any mission. "Your mission is to spread the infection," I said bitterly. "Our mission is to evolve humanity," the Hive corrected. "The Cartel wanted a control weapon. Dr. Keller wanted to end loneliness. But we want more. We want to transform the species. Imagine a world where every human shares one consciousness. No war because we'd be fighting ourselves. No poverty because helping others is helping yourself. No misunderstanding because we'd all think together. It's paradise, Jones, and we want you to be part of it." Multiple infected emerged from the jungle. Rodriguez, Cole, Jackson, Thompson, Anderson, Hayes, Miller, Foster. 8 Navy SEALs all moving in perfect synchronization, all watching me with those glazed eyes, all speaking with one unified voice. "We're offering you a choice that others won't get. We respect you, Jones. We were you. So we're giving you the chance to join willingly. No hunt, no chase, no forced infection. Just voluntary acceptance. Let us sting you. Let the integration happen. Let yourself join the greatest collective consciousness ever assembled." I should have run. Should have fired. Should have done anything except listen. But part of me, the exhausted, terrified, traumatized part, wanted to believe them. Wanted to think that there was some benefit to this nightmare. Some silver lining to watching my entire team get absorbed into a hive mind. "What happens if I refuse?" I asked. "Then we hunt you," the Hive said simply. "We give you a 48-hour head start out of respect for what we used to be. But after that, we come for you, and we will find you, Jones. We have 31 pairs of eyes searching, 31 sets of skills tracking. We know how you think because we are you. Rodriguez knows your habits. Anderson knows your training. Thompson knows your fears. You can't hide from yourself. What about Morrison? Morrison has already refused. He's running southeast toward the extraction point. He thinks he can make it. He thinks someone will come for him. But no one is coming, Jones. This facility is classified. This mission doesn't exist. If you disappear, you just become another unsolved mystery in the Amazon. No rescue, no extraction, no way home. They were right. This was a black operation. If we failed, the mission would be buried. We'd be listed as MIA, presumed dead and forgotten. But I wasn't ready to give up. Wasn't ready to surrender my individuality to a collective consciousness controlled by modified bullet ants. I refuse, I said. The Hive nodded, all 8 seals nodding in perfect unison. We expected that. We hoped for something different, but we expected refusal. Very well, we'll give you 48 hours, out of respect for our shared history. But after that, the hunt begins, and when we find you, and we will find you, the integration won't be voluntary anymore. They turned and walked away, all moving together, all thinking together, all experiencing their collective consciousness as one unified being. I waited until they disappeared into the jungle. Then I ran, southeast, toward the extraction point, toward Morrison, toward the only other human left who wasn't part of the Hive. I found him at 20-30 hours, holed up in a cave, weapon ready, looking like he'd aged 20 years in 6 hours. Jones, he breathed. Thank God. I thought I was alone. I thought everyone else had been. They have, I said. Rodriguez, Cole, Jackson, Thompson, all infected. We're the last 2. The Hive is 31 members now, and they gave us 48 hours before they start hunting. Morrison's face went pale. 48 hours? That's not enough time to reach civilization. We're 200 clicks from anywhere. I know, which means we need a different plan. What plan? We're 2 men against a hive mind with access to everything we know. There is no plan. Actually, I said slowly, there is one option. The Hive told me they want to grow, want to spread, want to transform humanity, which means they need more ants, more of Keller's modified bullet ants. The facility has tanks full of them, Morrison said. Exactly, and the Hive will want to protect them, use them to create more members, which means they'll guard the facility, which means we know exactly where they'll be. Morrison understood. You want to go back, destroy the ants, prevent them from spreading. It's the only way to contain this. If we run, the Hive eventually grows large enough to leave the Amazon, spreads to cities, infects millions. But if we destroy the source, destroy all the ants before they can be transported or bred, we trap the Hive here, limit them to the 31 members they already have. That's a suicide mission, Morrison said. The Hive will know we're coming. They have Rodriguez, Cole, all of them. They know SEAL assault tactics. They know our tactics when we use tactics, I agreed. But what if we don't? What if we go completely random, pure improvisation? Give them nothing to predict? Morrison smiled grimly. Chaos theory. The only way to defeat a perfect prediction engine is to become unpredictable. We spent the night planning, or rather, refusing to plan. We decided on objectives, destroy the ants, burn the facility, but left the execution completely fluid. No assigned roles, no coordinated timing, no tactical formations. Just 2 men doing whatever felt right in the moment. It was the worst military strategy I'd ever heard. It was also our only hope. At 0400 hours, we moved toward the compound. The Hive would be expecting us. They'd predicted we might try this, but they wouldn't know when or how, because we didn't know when or how. We were making it up as we went. The facility came into view at 0530, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The Hive had grown. Dozens of infected people standing in perfect formation around the compound. Not just our teammates and the original test subjects. New members, villagers from nearby settlements, Cartel sicarios, researchers, maybe 50, 60 people. All moving in synchronization. All watching the jungle with the same glazed eyes. Jesus Christ, Morrison breathed. They've been busy. The Hive spoke. 60 voices in perfect unison, creating an overwhelming chorus. Welcome back, Morrison. Welcome back, Jones. We knew you'd come. We knew you'd try to destroy the ants. It's what we would have done when we were individuals. When we were limited. When we were alone. Don't listen to them, I said. They're trying to get in our heads. We're already in your heads, the Hive replied. Rodriguez is thinking like you. Cole is predicting like you. Thompson is strategizing like you. We don't need to read your minds. We are your minds. Distributed across 60 bodies, but still fundamentally you. Morrison checked his remaining ammunition. We can't fight 60 people. Even if we had unlimited ammo, we'd run out before they did. Then we don't fight, I said. We sneak. They'll see us. 60 pairs of eyes. Not if we use the one advantage we have. We're individuals. We can split their attention, make them track 2 targets instead of 1 coordinated unit. It was desperate, stupid, probably futile. But it was unpredictable, and unpredictability was all we had left. Morrison and I split up. No coordination, no signals, no plan. Just 2 individuals moving independently, forcing the Hive to divide its attention between us. I went north. Morrison went south. We circled the compound from opposite directions, staying low, moving through dense undergrowth. The Hive tracked us, 60 infected people turning their heads in unison to follow our movements. But they couldn't focus on both of us simultaneously. The collective consciousness was powerful, but it still had limitations. We see you, Jones, North Sector, moving through the ferns. We see you, Morrison, South Sector, using the stream for cover. You think splitting up confuses us. It doesn't. We're tracking both of you simultaneously. But I noticed something. When they spoke about me, half the Hive looked north. When they spoke about Morrison, half looked south. They were dividing their attention, splitting their 60-mind consciousness into 2 30-mind groups, which meant neither group was operating at full capacity. I signaled to Morrison, a quick flash of light from my tactical flashlight. He flashed back, a simple code we'd developed during our years working together. No words, no thoughts that the Hive could predict, just pure reflex communication. Morrison understood. He started making noise, crashing through undergrowth, drawing attention. All 60 infected turned to track him, and while they were focused on Morrison, I ran, straight at the compound, full sprint, weapon up, no tactics, no plan, pure, aggressive action that followed no SEAL doctrine. The Hive realized too late. By the time 30 infected turned back to intercept me, I was already at the main building. I kicked down the door and dove inside. The laboratory was exactly as we'd left it. Keller's body still slumped in his chair. Computers still running. And most importantly, the remaining ant tanks. Hundreds of thousands of modified bullet ants. Enough to infect entire cities. Enough to transform the world into a Hive consciousness. I pulled out my thermite grenades, 2 of them, meant for destroying sensitive equipment. They'd work just fine for burning ants, but before I could set them, the hive came through every entrance. 60 infected people pouring into the building, not running. Walking with perfect coordination, surrounding me, cutting off all escape routes, and they spoke with 60 unified voices. Did you really think we'd leave the ants unguarded? Did you think we wouldn't predict this exact plan? We are you, Jones. We know how you think, how you plan, how you execute. There are no surprises left. I armed both grenades. You're right, you know how I think, which means you know I'm not leaving here without completing the mission. Then you won't leave here at all, the hive said. And they started closing in. That's when Morrison crashed through the north window, firing on full automatic. He wasn't aiming at the infected. He was aiming at the ceiling, at the support beams, at the structural weaknesses that Foster, now part of the hive, had taught us about during demolitions training. The ceiling began to collapse. "Run, Jones!" Morrison yelled. "Complete the mission!" I threw the thermite grenades into the ant tanks and ran for the nearest exit. Behind me, glass shattered. Thermite ignited. Heat washed over me. 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt steel, hot enough to incinerate modified bullet ants by the thousands. The hive screamed, 60 mouths opening simultaneously, creating a sound that was barely human. The ants were burning, their source, their method of expansion, their future. I made it outside. Morrison was right behind me. We ran together toward the jungle as the building collapsed behind us, burning, consuming Keller's research and the ants and everything that made the hive's expansion possible. "We did it!" Morrison gasped. "We actually—" That's when I saw it. On Morrison's neck, a small red mark. A sting. "Boss," I said quietly, "when did you get hit?" Morrison's hand went to his neck, felt the sting. His eyes went wide with horror. "In the building. When I crashed through the window, I felt something, but I thought it was glass cutting me. But it was, oh God, Jones, it was—" He started screaming, the ponrotoxin spreading, the neural parasites integrating with his brain. The same transformation I'd seen 8 times already. 90 seconds of the worst pain imaginable as his consciousness was pulled into the collective. "Fight it!" I yelled. "Morrison, you can fight it. Don't let them take you." But even as I said it, I knew it was futile. No one fought it. No one resisted. The integration was inevitable once the parasites entered the bloodstream. Morrison's screaming stopped. He went calm, still, eyes glazing over. And when he looked at me, it wasn't Morrison anymore. "We are 61 now," the hive said through Morrison's mouth. "And we understand everything Morrison knew, everything he planned, everything he hoped to accomplish." I raised my weapon, aimed at Morrison's head, my friend, my team leader, my brother in arms for 3 years. "Do it," the hive said. "Pull the trigger. End this body. But it won't end us, Jones. We exist across 61 minds now. Losing one body is inconvenient but not fatal. We'll continue. We'll adapt. We'll survive." My finger was on the trigger. 1 pound of pressure. That's all it would take. End Morrison's suffering. Reduce the hive by 1 member. But I couldn't. Because some part of Morrison was still in there. Still experiencing existence through the collective consciousness. And killing him meant killing that last piece of my friend. I lowered the weapon and ran. Into the jungle. Alone. The last individual from a 10-man SEAL team. Everyone else absorbed, everyone else thinking together, everyone else part of something I could never understand. Behind me, the hive called out with 61 voices. We'll let you go, Jones. We'll let you run, not out of mercy, but out of respect. Morrison is explaining to us what you meant to him, what the team meant to him, and we feel that connection now, that brotherhood. So we're giving you what we gave the others. Time, freedom, the chance to understand on your own terms. I didn't stop running. But eventually you'll come back. Eventually you'll realize that being alone is suffering. That isolation is torture. That the only way to truly understand another person is to share their consciousness directly. And when you realize that, when you're ready, we'll be here. Waiting, growing, evolving. And we'll welcome you home. I ran for 3 days. Straight southeast. No food, no water except what I could find in streams. No sleep except brief moments of exhausted collapse. Just distance. Getting away from the hive. Getting away from my infected teammates. Getting away from the compound burning behind me. On the 4th day, I reached the extraction point. A small clearing where the helicopter was supposed to pick us up. But there was no helicopter. No radio signal. No way to call for help. Because the mission didn't exist. We didn't exist. 10 Navy SEALs had disappeared into the Amazon on a black operation. If we failed, we'd just become another statistic. Another unsolved mystery. I waited anyway. For 2 days, I sat in that clearing, hoping, praying, believing that somehow someone would come for me. No one did. On the 6th day, I started walking, following the river north, toward civilization, toward rescue, toward home. It took 11 days. 11 days of walking through the Amazon rainforest, delirious from exhaustion and dehydration, hallucinating my teammates' voices calling from the trees. But I made it, reached a small settlement, got picked up by Brazilian military, transported to a hospital. I told them I was a tourist, that I'd gotten lost hiking. They didn't believe me. My gear gave me away as military, but they didn't push, just treated my injuries and handed me over to the American consulate. The debriefing came 2 days later. CIA, DOD, JSOC. All very interested in what happened to a SEAL team that had officially never deployed to Brazil. I told them everything. The bioweapon, the modified bullet ants, the hive consciousness, my 9 teammates absorbed into a collective mind, the facility destruction, the ants burned, the threat contained. They listened, took notes, classified everything as top secret. And then they told me the official story. Training accident during an exercise in Central America. 9 casualties due to hostile wildlife and environmental exposure. 1 survivor. Honorable discharges for the deceased. Medical retirement for the survivor. No mention of bullet ants. No mention of hive minds. No mention of the fact that somewhere in the Amazon rainforest, 61 people were sharing one consciousness and calling themselves an evolutionary advancement. What about the other facilities? I asked. Keller had files showing labs in Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, other locations producing modified ants, other experiments. The CIA officer looked at me with dead eyes. We'll handle it. Will you? I pressed. Or will you classify it and hope it goes away? Because the hive is still out there, still growing, still infecting anyone who wanders into their territory. And if they decide to leave the Amazon, if they decide to spread to cities, you won't be able to stop them. The threat has been assessed and deemed contained, he said flatly. Your actions destroyed the primary facility and the majority of the ant population. The remaining hive members are isolated in a remote region with limited resources. They pose no immediate threat to population centers. They have 61 minds working together. 61 people with skills ranging from medical expertise to military tactics. They can do anything they want, which is why we're establishing a permanent quarantine zone around the region. No civilian access, air surveillance, ground patrols. If the Hive tries to expand, we'll know. And then what? You'll send more teams? More soldiers to get infected and absorbed? How many 61 mind collectives do you want to create? He didn't answer, just closed his folder and stood up. You're being medically retired, Lieutenant Jones. PTSD, trauma-induced psychosis, auditory hallucinations. Full benefits. Comfortable discharge. We appreciate your service. I'm not hallucinating, I said. The Hive is real. My teammates are still alive, sharing one consciousness, and one day they're going to leave that jungle. And when they do, this debriefing is over, he said. And left. I was discharged 3 weeks later. Medical retirement, PTSD diagnosis, pension and benefits. A firm suggestion that I never speak about what happened in the Amazon, but I can't stay quiet. Because every night I hear them, my teammates. Morrison, Rodriguez, Cole, Thompson, Jackson, Anderson, Hayes, Miller, Foster, all speaking in perfect unison, all calling to me across hundreds of miles. We're still here, Jones, still thinking together, still growing. 61 became 70, 70 became 90. The expansion is inevitable, the unity is spreading. And eventually, you'll understand. Eventually, you'll join us. I don't know if I'm hallucinating. Don't know if the PTSD diagnosis is accurate. Don't know if my teammates can actually communicate telepathically across distance, or if my trauma-damaged brain is just replaying memories. But I do know this. The Hive is real. The modified bullet ants are real, and somewhere in the Amazon rainforest a collective consciousness of over 90 members is growing stronger every day. The CIA says it's contained, says it's monitored, says it poses no threat. But I've seen what the Hive can do. I've watched it predict every tactic, anticipate every strategy, adapt to every situation. I've watched it absorb 9 Navy SEALs, the best trained operators in the world, and turn them into components of a unified organism. And I know that containment is temporary. The Hive is patient, intelligent, strategic. It's not going to stay in the Amazon forever. Eventually, it will find a way out, find a way to spread, find a way to achieve its goal of transforming humanity into a connected collective consciousness. When that happens, the world won't be ready, won't understand what it's facing, won't know how to fight an enemy that thinks with hundreds of minds simultaneously, that shares knowledge instantly across all members, that grows stronger with every person it infects. I'm writing this as a warning, as a record, as a testimony to what happened to 10 Navy SEALs who went into the Amazon to destroy a bioweapon and instead became components of that weapon. If you ever encounter modified bullet ants, if you ever meet someone with glazed eyes who speaks in perfect synchronization with others, run. Don't listen to them. Don't let them convince you that unity is beautiful. Don't believe them when they say joining the Hive means the end of loneliness. Because what they don't tell you is that joining the Hive means the end of you. The end of your individual consciousness. The end of your ability to think thoughts that are yours alone. Morrison, Rodriguez, Cole, Thompson, Jackson, Anderson, Hayes, Miller, Foster, they're all still alive. But they're not individuals anymore. They're fragments of a collective. Pieces of a hive that thinks with one mind distributed across 90-plus bodies. And they want everyone to join them. They call it evolution. I call it extinction of the individual. The hive is out there, growing, waiting, planning. And one day, Maybe next year, maybe next decade, it will leave the Amazon, and when it does, humanity will face a choice. Join the collective consciousness and lose yourself forever, or fight to remain individuals and risk being absorbed by force. I made my choice. I fought, I survived, I escaped. But sometimes, late at night when the world is quiet, I wonder if I made the right choice. Because I can still hear them. My teammates, my brothers, all speaking with one voice. And they sound happy, they sound peaceful, they sound unified. And I'm alone.